So Metal Gear Survive comes out next month. I'm a huge fan of the Metal Gear franchise, but I have to be honest, I'm not entirely looking forward to this next one. We'll definitely have a review for it when it comes out, but in the meantime, I wanted to look back over the entire series and review the main entries, starting with the first one. The first Metal Gear Solid was released in 1998 for the original PlayStation. It follows the story of the legendary soldier Solid Snake, who's called out of retirement for a very important mission. There's a group of terrorists led by a man who claims to be Snake's brother. They've taken over a military base in Alaska and are threatening the US with nuclear weapons. So it's up to Snake to infiltrate this base, find out what the terrorists are really after, and stop them. For these reviews, I'm not going to go too in depth into the story of any of these games. I think that they're definitely worth experiencing knowing as little as possible. So let's jump right into the review. So the first thing that I want to mention right off the bat is that the story in this game is absolutely incredible. The story is mostly told through cutscenes that look surprisingly good for a PlayStation 1 game, and I found myself getting really invested in it. One of the biggest reasons I got so involved in the story of this game is because of the characters. There are a lot of very well-written, interesting characters in this game that have since become iconic. There's also some really excellent voice acting that really brings these characters to life. Everyone in the cast does a great job, but especially David Hayter, who voices Snake. Speaking of the characters, the boss fights in this game are very interesting and unique. Psycho Mantis and Revolver Ocelot are two of my favorite characters in any video game, and all of the other boss fights are really fun to play. As far as the gameplay goes, this game really set the standard for stealth gameplay. There have been so many games that have been influenced by Metal Gear Solid. I also think the level design is really cool. Instead of having a lot of separate areas that you visit, the game entirely takes place in this one military base, and you can essentially run from one end of it to the other. It makes the game feel very realistic. Unfortunately though, the level design does lead into my first negative for this game. Because the entire map in this game is connected, there are quite a few moments where you're asked to backtrack, and you have to go all the way to one of the starting areas of the game, and then walk all the way back in order to continue the story. This happens a lot, especially towards the third act, and it just felt like a way to pad the game out and make it longer. I only have one other complaint with the game, and that is that there's a romance element involving Snake that I found kind of pointless. I feel like the game as a whole did not need that in there, and that it would have been just as good without it. All in all though, those are very minor complaints compared to how much this game gets right. Metal Gear Solid is a classic for a reason. It's only $10 on the PlayStation Network, and I definitely think that it's worth your time. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.